welcome back to English Lessons with Stephanie. This is reading lesson 15, Post-Vaccination. In this lesson, we'll do a guided paragraph-by-paragraph reading. You can practice reading out loud by listening to each paragraph first, then pausing the video at the end of the paragraph and reading out loud for yourself. We'll use the GASP method of guessing, answering questions, summarizing, and predicting. So let's review our GASP method. So first, we'll mark words or phrases that we don't understand, guessing at the meanings for now. We'll stop at the end of each paragraph and try to answer any questions. Then we'll summarize the paragraph, that means to give the main idea, and we'll predict what we will read about in the next paragraph. This will help us to understand things better and read more quickly. Here's paragraph 1. Here in the US, it's been an exciting time as more and more people get vaccinated against COVID-19. With pandemic restrictions easing up, people are making plans to do all the things they haven't done during the past year. So in this very first sentence, we see the word vaccinated. And the title of this reading is vaccination. So what do you think get vaccinated means? You probably already know what COVID-19 is. And if you don't, this is the name of the disease that is caused by the coronavirus. In our second sentence, we see the word pandemic, which is a vocabulary word from class 4. And pandemic is the situation where a lot of people have an illness, like with COVID-19. We have the word restrictions. And if you're not sure what restrictions are, we can guess. This sentence might seem a little complicated, with pandemic restrictions easing up. If this part doesn't make any sense, just ignore it and look at the next part, which is the main part of the sentence. People are making plans to do all the things they haven't done during the past year, right? Because the sentence starts with a clause with a comma, we can just look at the second part of the sentence by itself. We can separate these two parts out and see if that helps us to understand it better. So you can just guess what the first part of the sentence means. If people are making plans to do all these things, what do you think the first part of the sentence refers to? So let's summarize this first paragraph and then think about what you might read in the next paragraph. Here's our second paragraph. My friend's sister had a baby a few months ago, and he recently saw her for the first time. Because the baby isn't vaccinated, my friend drove across the country, a trip that took several days, in order to make sure that he didn't inadvertently pick up any virus on the long flight. He had a wonderful time finally meeting his new niece. So in the second paragraph, my friend drove across the country to see who for the first time. It says he recently saw her for the first time. So who does her refer to? The sister or the sister's baby? It's a little unclear, but we're probably talking about the sister's baby because he has probably seen his sister sometime before. It's not the first time seeing his sister. Maybe the first time since the pandemic, but it doesn't say that. It just says for the first time. So my friend drove across the country, a trip that took several days. Trip is a vocabulary word that means time spent traveling. So here that trip took several days. And he drove, even though it took such a long time, to make sure he didn't pick up any virus. So there's a long word in this sentence, inadvertently. We'll just ignore it for now because it's not important, but you can guess what it means. But if you're trying to make sure, if you know what sure means you know something is true 100%, there is no mistake, make sure you can guess what this means, and that he doesn't want to pick up any virus. Now, pick up is a phrasal verb, and maybe you can guess what you think pick up means. He doesn't want to pick up any virus, and virus means something that causes an illness, like the coronavirus. And in the sentence, we also have the word flight, an old vocabulary word that means a trip on an airplane. So let's summarize this paragraph and then predict what you think we might read about in the next paragraph. Here's our next paragraph. My husband and I are planning to take our first vacation in more than a year. While my other family members have taken local trips this past year, we have stayed home with our new baby and our dogs. Next weekend, we'll take a road trip to meet up with friends for a few nights camping. And next month, we're going to take our daughter on her first plane ride when we go on vacation for a week. We're really looking forward to all of these adventures after a long year at home. So in this paragraph, I want you to think about our grammar lesson from this week and see if you can tell which sentences express the future. The first sentence has the progressive tense, but it's talking about now because there's no future clause. The third sentence starts with the future clause. Next weekend, we will take. So we'll take, this is the future tense. The next sentence after that, we have next month, we're going to take. That is the future. Also in that sentence, we have when we go on vacation. And even though this is the present simple tense, we are talking about the future. And in the final sentence, we have the present progressive tense again, but this is talking about the present and not the future. We have some good vocabulary here. First, we have the word local, a local trip. What do you think local means? In the next sentence, we have a phrasal verb, meet up, and camping. If you don't know what camping is, this is when you sleep outside and usually enjoy nature. And in the last sentence, we have adventures. Now, we learned a phrase using adventure all the way back in class 1, so see if you can guess what adventure means. Now that we're at the end of this paragraph, you should summarize it, give us the main idea, and predict what you think we'll read about in the next paragraph. The holidays this year will be even more special. For the 4th of July, maybe we'll have a party and invite all of our friends. Both of my nephews have birthdays this summer, so my daughter will get to attend her first birthday parties. And unlike last year's strange Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, I hope that this year we'll celebrate with more of our extended family, aunts and uncles and cousins and in-laws that we haven't seen in over a year. So in this paragraph, we start by talking about holidays. You probably know what holidays are, but you can guess because in the rest of this paragraph, we talk about 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas. These are all special events. And notice that when we talk about holidays, we use capital letters. So 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas all use capital letters. Next, we have the verb invite. Invite all of our friends. What do you think this means? And in the next sentence, attend. My daughter will get to attend. We also have get to. See if you can remember what get to means. This is an old vocabulary phrase. And we also have the phrase extended family. And then there's an example of extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, and in-laws. So see if you can guess what extended family means. You can ask yourself a question here. Were you able to celebrate holidays with your family as usual this year? So now that we're at the end of this paragraph, summarize it and guess what we'll read about in the next paragraph. Of course, there are smaller things that I'm excited about as well, things that aren't normally exciting. Seeing the doctor, getting a haircut, and eating indoors in a noisy restaurant, surrounded by strangers. It will be so nice to return to doing all the normal things we used to do. Okay, so here we have the vocabulary word indoors. What do you think indoors means? You can look at the parts of the word in and doors and see if you can guess. And the word strangers. Look at the word strangers and see if you can guess what it means. And ask yourself this question: what things are you excited about? Then summarize the paragraph and predict what you think we'll read about in the last paragraph. Right now, however, I am still taking things slowly. Where I live in California, most adults are vaccinated, but children still are not. In many parts of the world, COVID-19 cases are still on the rise. So even though I can relax a little for now, I'm still being careful, and I know that things can change very quickly. It's going to be a long road back to normal, but I hope we are slowly getting there. So in this last paragraph, I tell you that in California and in the US, things are improving. They're getting better slowly. But in many parts of the world, COVID-19 cases are still on the rise. So what do you think on the rise means? And in the last sentence, we say that it's going to be a long road getting back to normal. So what do you think a long road means? Ask yourself this question: is life in your country getting back to normal? So let's summarize this last paragraph and review. To review, you should summarize the entire reading for yourself. Go back and review any parts you're still confused about. You can look up words in a dictionary like merriam-webster.com. And reflect. This reading is titled Post-Vaccination. What do you think post means? And I strongly recommend you continue with this week's writing and speaking lessons. In writing lesson 15, we'll talk about all these vocabulary words and how you can write with them correctly. And in speaking lesson 15, of course, we'll talk about some of this reading and practice talking about the future. So, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.